Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to another edition of E-Heroes. This is episode 237. I have an awesome guest, and behind the scenes, we're talking about a bunch of stuff. But today's episode is going to be called Worthless and Weak, because that's what most of your marketing is anyway. So, welcome, Steve Sipress, and thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me here, and better that you said it than me, since you are well known as the straight to the point, sarcastic. I'm just going to tell you like it is. Although my nickname's Straight Talk Steve, so I guess we're both here in the right place.
Well, it's funny because I've interviewed you in the past, but it's been years, and I think it was on a different podcast that I had prior. And I've had this podcast for going on 5 years now. And I'm like, why haven't I had Steve on? It's like, here we
Well,
are.
that was my thought when I say, and I appreciate it because I saw you sent me I think a Facebook message invitation. I was like, yeah, of course I'll be on there, but I was already on there. I think I was like your first or second guest. You're like, that's a different podcast.
It's
I'm like, oh
different.
crap, then I would have said something for the last 5 years ago on how come I'm not on there. Not that I'm an e-hero, whatever that means. I'm whatever it is, I'm probably not it.
Yeah. So an e-hero is an entrepreneurial hero that
Oh,
helps other entrepreneurs.
oh, I thought it was something technical like email or some
See,
technical thing.
this is what happens when you don't get somebody on the show for 5 years.
Got it. All
We're just worthless and weak.
right. Now drop and give me 20.
And the thing is that, for all those who don't know, Steve is a master of direct response marketing, but it's something that I think has lost a little bit of its credibility since social media came around. You don't see the long form sales letters anymore. You don't see a lot of the brilliant stuff that the marketers used to put out. Now they're like, oh, just put 15 words on social. That'll be fine. I'm like, it's not selling shit. But
Well, I will say that that's true, and then again, not so much because that was always around. People were always, using short copy and thinking it works, little
mm-hmm.
classified ads or postcards, and that's it. And so a lot of what I see on social media and what most people see is just, this, it's just the surface. It's the tip of the iceberg, where the
Right.
90% of the iceberg is what you can't see. The social media is the lead, the bait to get
Mm-hmm.
them to click and get them to go somewhere where there will be a half an hour, a 40 minute. The other day I was on a 3 hour video, but schedule the sales call and then like just watch this video before the call. It's 3 hours and I had it in a speed up. I'm like, how? And there's no, they, of course, they put no thing on the bottom, no controls on the bottom. I can't, there was one control, go back 10 seconds. I'm like, as if, and now it's going to be like 4 hours if I keep doing that. Like, I can't pause it. I'm like, I'm glad I took a leak before this. I'm like, when is it ending? What is going on? But yeah, sure, their ad or whatever they got me to there with was the short, punchy social media stuff. But then rest assured, marketers that know what they're doing are still using long copy. The longer they spend reading your sales message, the more likely they are to buy.
Yeah, I just had a piece came across my desk, and it was from another marketer. He said, Rob, can you put your eyeballs on this? He goes, I put already 20 hours into it and it's not working for me. 20 minutes later, I had some notes all made up. I said, change this, do this, do this, do this. Send it back to me. He goes, what the hell, Rob? You spent 20 minutes. I spent 20 hours. I said, it's just another set of eyeballs. It's just, you probably looked at it too long.
Yeah, well, I've been there too. We've all been there. Again, speaking of tech, I notoriously, whenever I have a tech issue, I'll spend 5 hours trying to figure it out before I call tech support. And then they're like, do this, which is usually plug it in or something, and then it works. And then, but one of them taught me this. I didn't even think about this, but it makes so much sense. We're entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs, we're not on the clock. We don't get paid by the hour. We don't think in terms of pay by the hour or salary or I get paid just to show up or
Mm-hmm.
sit there. But these guys do. And so after for 5 hours, was so discombobulated, couldn't do anything, and he fixes it in 12 seconds. And I'm like, oh man, that is right. Of course, how stupid of me. I'm so sorry to waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy straightened me out. He's like, you're not wasting my time. They pay me to sit here all day. If I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to somebody else. No problem. I hang up. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
Why am I not calling them for 5 hours? I would not call you. In fact, I would never call you because you would fire me as a client instantly. I would wait 5 hours before I waste even 1 millisecond of your time. But these guys, these customer service people, wherever they are all over the world now, are, of course, they're just sitting there all day. I'm like, you got to call them immediately.
Hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, my car's in the shop today, and I'm like, I don't want to work on it. I don't have time to work on it. And I think we as entrepreneurs forget our own value. We're like, okay, well, if I normally charge $200 or $300 an hour, but my mechanic's only charging $40 an hour or $50 an hour, why am I working on my own car?
Yeah, I always say that unless there is so much value in it, like that's your hobby, that's how you unwind and relax working on your car, or you have a young kid who you want to show him the ropes and bond as a father son. There's got to be some other reason, but because otherwise you're right, it's simple math. Anything I can get somebody else to do for less dollars an hour than I can make is something I got to do.
Hmm.
Heck, don't you know? I know people that and people that that they pay, personal shoppers and this, and they're like, of course, if I pay her $100 to go do the grocery shopping, and then I sit there and work on my website or send out an email, whatever, that I make $5,000 on, that was a good deal. Not going to go shopping. They're like, when's the last time I've been in the supermarket? Forget it.
I'm looking at your website. I have to chuckle because, you know, I think we're the last generation to do any of this. And it said that you started out selling greeting cards door to door and working a paper route. And, I think most big cities, there's only a few papers left anymore.
That's a good point. I should put like an asterisk and explain to the younger generation what a paper route is. What's a paper? A paper route? They're probably thinking a paper route. What are like Dunder Mifflin? What are you selling paper on a route? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, same with phone books. I mean, we used to place ads in phone books, and people are like, "What the hell's a phone book?"
I worked as a consultant with a Yellow Page publisher for over 3 years.
Hmm.
Back in the day. Although, I mean, there's people, media never, and no single way of marketing or advertising really goes away. It's not replaced by something. It's just something is added to the mix. People are still making a killing in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, well, and I think that these have made life easier. However, and for those on audio, I'm raising my phone. Um,
I love that people call that a phone, by the way. I think that's about the only use that they don't use it for.
they don't use it now.
No, they tell me like it's rude to call. Oh, it's rude to call. It's
Yeah.
really rude to leave a voicemail. I'm like, when did this happen? Like I love voicemails. I love phone calls. Call me. They're like, oh, how about this one? Do you get this? They text me, so I have to go pick up the phone. Text goes, are you available for a call? I'm like, let me get this straight. You had your phone in your hands, and you know my phone number. Instead of just call me, you send a text message, and now I have to sit here and type back out on these teeny little things. Yes, I'm to call me. What, dude? Just call me. Oh no, that's rude.
Yeah,
That's
or
rude.
they'll constantly leave voice messages on Facebook chat.
I now I don't know how to do that. Of course,
And I'm
that's
like,
tech. I don't know how to do
I
that
said,
either, but I get them, and I'm like, how'd you do that?
and it's
They're
like,
like, you click on a little thing or something or whatever. I'm like, Facebook. That's for like seeing whose birthday it is and what they had for lunch, and running ads. Like, I'm not sitting there. I don't know what they make a phone call, and then my whole computer goes crazy. It starts buzzing and noises. Someone's calling you on Facebook. I'm like, ignore. I'm not talking it. What am I going to talk into my computer? What? That's what I'm doing now, of course. So what am I talking? Who knows? Whatever.
we're two curmudgeons.
And people watch this in the future are like, what's a phone? They're like, what's a computer? Who knows? We'll have chips in our brain by then.
But with all this tech, people think that marketing is easier. And honestly, I'm going to tell everybody that the postal service is still the best way to send marketing pieces
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
for a lot of reasons. And we're not getting as much mail as we used to because we're all getting electronically. But when we do get mail, we value it. We want to open it up. We want to see who the hell's mailing us.
You're
Oh,
right. I call that the Christmas principle. If you're used to coming down on Christmas morning, there's 50 presents all around. Okay, what if one Christmas you came down there were two presents? you'd really value that one. You wouldn't go tearing through and go, oh, socks, oh, a sweater, oh, I don't care. Where's the good one? You'd be like, oh, my one present. That's kind of how the mail is.
Mm-hmm.
You might get one piece of mail now, other than a couple of whatevers, and so you're like, people are gonna open it. The first rule of direct mail used to be you got to get it opened. You got to
Mm-hmm.
get there. Now it's almost anything gets opened. So you're right, that's easier than ever.
Yeah, I mean, and
Second
for
of all,
us,
just for the tech reason, for kind of secrecy, for confidentiality from your competitors, where competitors can go on. You know this because you do tech stuff like behind the scenes, but you can go and find out what anyone's running Facebook ads, what ads they're running, for how long they've been running them, what the Google AdWords are. You can then go to their website and get their whole video, their whole marketing, and now with AI and whatever, you can copy it, twist it, spin it, do whatever, make it your own. Whatever. But if I'm using direct mail and I'm sending out a 4-page sales letter in the mail, that's tough,
Mhm.
especially for lazy competitors to even find it, to steal it, to repurpose it, to use it for their own. That's tough to do. So you operate much more in a vacuum, much more free of having your stuff stolen.
Mhm.
And like you said, people actually have their attention. When's the last time you got an e-zine newsletter and you read the whole thing, or you said, oh, I got to read that on the screen, or on a phone, even worse. Like, but I
Well,
can't even read the thing.
and the thing is, Google will flag it before you even get it if you're lucky.
Oh, see, now I'm talking to the Google expert of the world. So that's enough. See, now I'm going to add, thank you. I'm going to add that as if I know that, because now I know it. So I'm going to add it as if I came up with that. Like Google doesn't even like those.
It's like,
But last I checked, I don't have two mailboxes in the front of my house.
yeah.
I have one inbox. I don't have a spam filter. I don't have a promotions tab. I don't have like four mailboxes, and the mailman goes, oh no, this goes in the spam, and this goes in the junk, and that goes in the promotion. It all gets to whoever I'm sending it to.
Right. Yeah, and you know, for us men of a certain age, or women too, you're going to get AAA, you're going to get AARP, you're going to get all this over the 50 shit mail, and it's like, oh God, do I have to open
AARP hounded me for years before I finally opened the thing because I just refused to admit I was of the age. Because it used to be called, it's like KFC is now officially KFC, but it used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken.
it?
AARP is AARP, but it used to be something like the American Association of Retired Persons. So I'm like, I'm not retired, I'm 50. And I finally, after like 4 years, I was like 54. I'm like, they keep sending me this stuff. I'm going to open it, and I see it's $10 a year. I'm like, let me do the math here. Hang on. Let me get out my calculator, which again, nobody has an actual calculator anymore because it's on their phone or they're this or whatever. I'm like, no, see, I got the good old calculator. I sold thousands of these door to door back in my door to door sales days. But I'm like, do the math. I'm like, they are sending me how many pieces? One a month for a year. That's $1 a piece. So they spent $12 to get my 10. They must know what they're doing. There must be something going on here. And then I found out, of course, they're selling insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So we got car insurance through it. We got health insurance through it. We got dental insurance through it. What do you know? So there he was, refusing to even open the damn thing for 4 years. And now we've given him all this money. That's how you do it. They would never have gotten me with their emails or social media posts.
Yeah,
But
and
eventually, sending the right piece of direct mail, enough of them, I'm going to open the thing.
that's because they know who's worthless and weak.
They're
we,
definitely worthless
we
and
we
weak.
we all open the stuff. No, but
Well, and now just to be fair to your listeners and your viewers, that came from the before you turned on the recording thing here. We were talking about the weather. You're still up north where I lived my whole life, but now I'm in the beautiful, ridiculous Phoenix, Scottsdale area of Arizona,
yeah,
and
it's
it is
disgusting.
January whatever, and it's like 60 something degrees here. So now if it drops below 60, I'm like, it's freezing. This is how can you live? It's horrible. I am worthless and weak. If you show me a snowflake, I'll be a snowflake. I think that's where the name comes from.
Well, it's what was it, 10 years ago? Yeah, I sent you my first book, and you sent me a picture of you poolside reading my book, and I think you were in Chicago or
That
something
was
like
Cher. I still see that pop up once in a while on somewhere. I'm like, I
so.
remember that. You were like, can you please take a photo reading the book?
and I never
It
would
said that in
have.
the book. See, the book is share. I remember that. At the end of the book, it said, now please share. Take a photo, post it, this, that. Yeah, you're brilliant at that stuff. And I see behind you, your bookcase, this is like 50 books later. I love it.
I I
But wait a minute, print books? No, ebooks. No, you got to put a Kindle book in a ebook in a
yeah,
PDF, whatever they're called. Like,
and I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that like reading books on their phone. I'm not one of them. And so if you can't read a book in print,
I'll
I
tell
don't
you,
want you as a customer.
just to address that point, because I agree for the most part, I'm well known. People know me for saying I live in an and world, not an or world. And that really came to light on this subject. A friend of mine who is a thought leader, so he reads and writes, lots of people follow him for his thoughts. And this was in Chicago back in the day. And we were both in the green room before an event. And I saw he had a little case full of books, but he was also reading a book on his iPad or whatever it was, Kindle something. And I'm like, well, which is it? He said, look, of course I go when I'm on the flight or when I'm on a trip, I'm not going to bring like 20 books everywhere I go. So I read them on this thing. But then he said, here's what I do. I take the book and back in my office, I have a guillotine, he called like a saw, and like I put the book in it and it chops the spine off. So what I do is I go through the book and I highlight and I circle well, like this. I got, well, you can't see it there, but I got like, everything is dog-eared and highlighted and he goes, then I chop the spine off, I scan it in, and then I can search just for the pages that have the words that I highlight something. So he did both.
Wow.
Now I can't bring myself to do that. It's brilliant, but I'm like, I can't bring myself to chop off a book. I love books. I'm not going to chop them up, but that just makes so much sense. So now he's like, look on my laptop, when I want to write a blog post on leadership, I type in the word leadership and all these little snippets of all these books come up that I've highlighted on leadership and boom, I have my post. So both. So there's a time for reading it on the tablet and there's a time for heck, I wasn't going to be sitting out by my pool, hanging out in the pool reading a tablet, although I guess you could do that.
Yeah.
Just get a new one if it gets wet. But I like the physical book. I like books.
Yeah. It's and the thing is if it wasn't for people that I met along the way, like you and Joe Polish and Dan Kennedy and Joe Sugarman, I probably would have never even wrote books, and so
You
thank
know
you.
what
And
comes to
I
mind?
appreciate you.
You got to look this up, somebody, or if you care, look this up or whatever, or ask your AI or something. Like there's some
That's
Japanese
good.
proverb about books, and it says it's something about this is so comforting to people like me, that go to Amazon and buy 10 books, and then like they just sit there and pile up in the corner and they pile up over here, and then like what the heck? And it's some kind of proverb that says you can judge the intelligence of a person by how many unread books they have in their library. I love that saying. I should know it by heart because I'm like, yes, let's go buy another 20 books I'm not going to read on Amazon. And it was something about, yeah, because that means you're intellectually curious. You don't know everything. You're open to learning. I'm like, yes, yes, that's so comforting to those of us that have piles of books all around. And man, the blurb was so good. Or, the title was so, yeah, I got to know how to whatever in 10 easy steps. And oh, when the ebooks sit all over your computer, you don't see them ever again.
Right.
The books, I'm like, oh man, I got to read those books. Yeah. Now yours, I will say, I know this isn't about you, but yours books are the easiest thing to read in the world. They're the most fun. They're the easiest. I get it. As anytime I get your book, I couldn't put it down because it would take more effort and time to put it down than it does just to read through it.
Well,
So your books are awesome. That's how all books should be, like readable in an hour.
yeah.
Boom.
I when I first came out with Share, I actually it was after I met you in Scottsdale at a
Infusionsoft.
Soft, and on the plane trip back, I came up with the idea for the book,
Wow, who knew?
and so that became the easiest social media book ever. And then from that point on, it was like, hey Rob, help me with my book, do this, do this. And then the whole Rob versus series, it's just my sarcastic take on life, and they've sold more than all the other ones. And even though the other ones are are geared to help you with a certain subject. And
Well, now wait a minute. Do you actually sell these? Because you know that the book is not in the money. It's not. You don't make money from selling the book.
no, I mean, people go to Amazon, they'll buy the book.
I love it.
But I also give them away, for new clients, they'll call me up and, hey, I said, have you read any of my books? No. Well, I'm going to mail you some, at least read one, and then we'll talk. And those who take the time to read the books become my clients. Those who don't,
Or they throw them out.
yeah,
Either way, saves you a phone call.
and so the Rob versus books, somebody in he's a production consultant for Hollywood. So he read one and he loved it, and then he ordered the rest of them, and he's like, Rob, we got to make this into a TV show.
I was going to say, am I going to like see the Rob versus movie
So we
with
we
18 sequels?
we wrote a pilot episode, and we're shopping it, and there is some interest, but we'll see what the numbers come
Come
back.
on, that's awesome. So who's going to play the sarcastic lead? Oh, it's like a Larry David thing, right?
like
The guy just walks around and he's sarcastic about everything. Obviously, it's a hit.
Because when we sat down and it's just me and the book, so it's me against the world in the book or the books. But in a sitcom, in a comedy sitcom, you got to have an ensemble cast. So it's like, okay, what is this character? What is this character? And we had to draw them out. We had to figure out who they were.
I love it.
And it took weeks to come up with character development and a whole storyline and how Rob gets started, and some of it mirrors me. Some of it we had to, make it a little bit deeper.
Man, I'm just thinking then, who would play you?
I don't know.
Tom Cruise?
I hope not.
George Clooney? That's what I always say. People see me in airports, wherever, they're like, what actor do you look like? What? I'm like, I get that all the time. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
They're like, no, I'm serious. I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm like, George Clooney. They're like, no, I know exactly who you're thinking. Denzel Washington. That's when they finally realize I'm kidding.
Yeah, I think you could pull Denzel off.
Why not? Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to set my TV recorder or whatever. And that's another thing to talk about tech. I don't know. People ask me, I say, like, here's a show I watched. They're like, what channel is it on? I don't know. What day is it on? I don't know. What time is it on? I don't know. I sit down, I put on the thing, I see the list, and when it pops up, I'm like, oh, honey, look, there's a new episode of that. Let's watch.
Yeah, and we'll just binge watch it the whole season in a couple hours, and it's like, okay,
I love that one. You just watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Remember the days we were talking earlier? Remember the days, like, we were talking about voicemail, like the phone would ring when you were just getting to the door with your arms full of groceries and the phone's ring. You're like, oh man, trying to get the keys out. Like there's no recorder. Hurry up. Oh, you just missed it. Well, it was the same thing with TV. Yeah, I remember All in the Family was on like Saturday night at 8 o'clock or whatever time. We just had to get home for that. You couldn't miss the first 2 minutes. Then you missed Archie singing the song or whatever. Like now it's like, what? I'll just wait till season 5 and everyone's telling me it's a great show and we'll just go watch all 5 seasons. Great. Yeah. Done. Or the 24 show with Kiefer Sutherland. Like now that I think about it, you can just watch 24 hours in a row where he never sleeps, never takes a leak, never eats. Like, damn, I had to like take a nap, get 3 sandwiches, I was going to take a leak 4 times, like get up. You got shot, kidnapped, you never ate, you never slept.
It all goes back to being worthless and weak.
I would be worthless and weak. Well, yeah, I had a friend. I played senior softball. Speaking of worthless and weak, and had a teammate. He has a bag with his name tag is an Ironman triathlon name tag. I'm looking at him like, wait a minute, did you really like run a triathlon? He's like, I've done 10 of them. I'm like, I get exhausted just watching that on TV. Talk about worthless and weak. It's 11 hours. I'm like, you got the look. I've always thought I went to school in Boston. And I ran cross country in high school, and I thought I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. Well, that never happened. But if I were to run a marathon, I'm pretty sure that right before I ran it, I wouldn't swim for 2 miles in the ocean and then bike 110 miles up and down mountains and then say, now I'm ready. Let's run a marathon. I'm pretty sure that well, now we're off. We're kind of off. The whole call's on a tangent, isn't it? But I remember back in law school, speaking of that, in Boston, where we had our own triathlon. I forget all the events, but I think it was like go to the corner and get the paper. Again, there was USA boxes on the corners in cities back then, so there was newspapers. That's what I'm talking about. Not like Dunder Mifflin. Get the paper, come back, drink a beer, and then watch TV. Those are the three events of our triathlon. Because yes, I'm worthless and weak. I can't even think.
Well, and the thing is that back in our day, we had phones that were mounted to walls with 6 foot cords. We had to stand there,
They
and
still use
talk.
the actual phone.
Now we're liberated with our phones and we can go anywhere. But we
Remember
used to,
those days? You had the
we,
cord and then you got the long cord, and that was really cool, although you had to untangle it all the time.
and we would complain about our $35 a month phone bills. Now we have phones for
But back
everyone.
then, so speaking of then, so back then, maybe your viewers or listeners don't realize this, but back then the phone was free. This was talking about marketing. So the phone company would give you the free phone because then you would pay for the monthly bill. So you got a phone. Nobody bought a phone. And then, of course, you cable TV, the same thing. They gave you the set top box, and then you would pay for the cable bill. Well, so like 10 years ago, whatever, these iPhones start coming out, or maybe 15 years ago with flip phones or Blackberries. I'm like, what do you mean? People, I read some was like Apple is selling 1 million phones or $1 billion worth of. I'm like, buying a phone? I'm not going to buy a phone. The phone company gives you a phone. Who buys a phone? Man, that's dating ourselves. Like back to when no one bought a phone. Now, no one would be without at least one phone.
Yeah.
A lot of people have 2 or 3 of these things.
Yeah, and they're $1,000 a clip, and like,
$1,000. How many you need? What do you do? And then the deal is like, oh, come on in and get a free, upgrade because it's 1 billionth of an inch, thinner and has 2 more pixels in the camera and it's 1/10 of a millionth of an ounce lighter. So give me $1,000, and people line up around the block. I gotta have that thing because it's the newest. It's just brilliant marketing. And so they pay another 1,000, but they go, it's free. You just have to sign the contract and pay X a month for your phone thing for years. So again, the phone is free, but they're selling it for $1,000 or more.
yeah.
Oh, the old days when the phone was free. But this thing isn't a phone. Again, this thing isn't a phone. It's a computer.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
It's
it's
an
still.
amazing computer that everyone has. Look, everyone has in their pocket almost at all times. They're never more than 2 feet away from the entire compendium of world knowledge in the history of mankind. And yet, what do they do with that thing? They're apping and playing games and Facebooking and TikToking and whatever, and sitting there going like, man, I don't make enough money and I can't get a raise and I can't. Dude, how about using that thing for something? Like, how about click on some articles and some information and learn
Yeah,
something and make yourself valuable? Like, oh, what a concept.
yeah, I mean,
They're all worthless and weak.
you have the access to all the world's knowledge on your phone, and all you want to do is play a game.
Yeah, or Facebook somebody or scroll through and see 400 people you don't know what they had for lunch.
In our day, we had to go to the library and research for 8 hours to figure out.
Again, for
Okay,
your audience, we have to explain. Maybe we need subtitles, library definition. In fact, they're doing that. They're multitask. They're watching this episode with their phone in their hand, going library, like Libary. No, library. They get you. No, and they probably don't even have to spell it right. And Google will
and
go,
and
"Did
and
you mean library?"
yeah, and when you go to the library, you had to go use the Dewey Decimal System, and
Do
you're
hang
like,
on.
and people are like,
He
"What the
he
hell
just
is
said
that?"
Dewey.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
right. Looking through, like, where is ancient Asian art history? Oh, it's 809.142. Where is that? You go to the card catalog. The card catalog.
and now they just speak into Google, and Google finds it for you.
Yeah. you, you type one word into Google, it gives you like 10 suggested things. It automatically finishes the sentence you were writing. I'm like, I'm not sure really what I'm searching for. It's something about this. Like, do you mean this? I'm like, yes, that's what I'm searching. So
Matt,
they even tell me what I'm searching. Talk about worthless and weak. They tell
Matt,
me what I'm searching for, and then they give it to me.
imagine if Google spit out the Dewey Decimal System and you're like, where the hell am I supposed to go?
What if Google said, go to your card catalog and thumb through it and then walk up the third flight of all the books and scroll. Like you can go to Amazon, right? You just go to Amazon, type in anything. There's how many titles are on Amazon? Does anyone know? I guess somebody knows. There's millions, right? There's like millions of titles, more than in any and items for sale. How can
I,
brick and mortar stores compete at all?
I only look for my stuff on Google.
Well, there you go. That must boy, I bet when they confiscate your laptop and they search through the search history, they're like, this is the most narcissistic, vain guy we've ever met. Every one of his searches is for himself. He's worthless and weak. That is the theme of the call. I just have to keep repeating that and embodying it.
Well, and I think that's the problem with marketers today is that they don't take into the fact that we are the older generation. We've experienced all these things that they're never going to experience. They can't talk about it. Now they have to research it, but they don't want to. So they're going to talk about something new like AI or chat GPT or, oh, this is the greatest thing. It writes everything for us. No, it just makes you dumber.
Well, it can do menial tasks, but there's lots of things it can do. We just talked about it. If you want to get your oil changed or work on your car or get someone to go shopping or get a list of something, like AI can do all the menial stuff and frees us up to do real stuff. But you're right. I have people sitting there like, man, I'm all day on there playing with the AI. I'm like, no, it's that you're worthless and you're defeating the whole part. The whole idea is to save you time. That would be like saying, I got this microwave in my kitchen. It's so fantastic. I spend all day long popping popcorn. I just spend all day with the microwave. No, the whole idea is it's 3 minutes and you're done. It's not I sit there on Chat GPT and type things in. That's the same as sitting on TikTok and scrolling through videos for 2 hours.
And the funny
Doesn't
thing
work.
is I've gone to YouTube and watched a video of some guy in a third world country with a wok making popcorn,
Oh
and
yeah.
does it faster than my microwave.
I've watched those.
What's wrong with this?
I go to somebody's thing, somebody sends me a friend request. I'll go over to their Facebook page, see what they're all about. And there's a video of someone cooking something. And I watched the video for like 6 minutes. I don't cook. I don't make anything. And it was something I wouldn't even eat anyway. But I was fascinated to watch somebody making something. Yeah, this social media, I think it's going to catch on.
That's gonna catch on.
Well, we mentioned it like people don't use this for good. They get addicted to whatever it is. I'm the same. We all get addicted to whatever. I have an addictive personality. And so I got to be careful. Otherwise, I'll sit there watching cat videos all day long. And then the algorithms take over. And all they do is keep feeding me more stuff that I want to see. And they know how to addict me and keep me there. And I got to put that away. Put that away. Make a phone call with that thing, will you? Speaking of this phone, when I came in, I said, we're up in the mountains here. We don't get great cell service. I got a booster thing now. So apparently now the cell works better. Who knew? I was here 4 years before someone said, get a booster. I'm like, what is that? What is that? Like the third shot for the virus? I don't know what you're talking. But we got the thing and immediately it works. It's great. But I was like, look, I do interviews like this and I do on the phone sometimes. And I'm like, I need a landline. I need a landline. You know what the phone guy told me? There are no landlines anymore. No landlines. So this is technically a land. He goes, yeah, but it's VoIP.
Yeah.
It's voice over internet protocol. He goes, there's no lines coming to your house. I go, but I want the line I want to make sure I get on the phone with somebody important. Or like you were just joking before the call about the time I interviewed you for my podcast. And because of the internet connection was horrible, it kept going in and out and cutting off. And I was like, is he going to be there again when I reconnect? And you were still there. Bless you for your patience and understand. But it was like the worst episode of all time of any. So I got a landline. He goes, no, No landline. It's still coming over the internet. It's still just coming through the air. But it makes me feel better to have it.
So what's your future hold?
Great question. And I'm waiting for the answer. Please give me the. Let me go to ChatGPT and ask. By the way, speaking of how weak that thing is, and I don't know when people are watching this, but I went the other day and I put in something asking about something that happened a couple of months ago, and it came back with the answer. I still have it open here. Let me open this on my computer and look at this. Talk about a weak answer. I do not have information about that, as my training data only goes up until 2021. I said, you got to be kidding me. So then I asked it, who won the Super Bowl in 2022? Now, I don't know because I don't follow football anymore, but I'm pretty sure lots of people know that. And it's probably pretty. I'm sorry, but my training data only goes up until 2021, and I do not have information on the winner of the 2022 Super Bowl. So how stupid. These things, robots, computers, they're stupid. That's the people think they're smart. They're not smart. They're stupid. Humans, everything's going to need humans. No, robots are not going to take over. Well, maybe someday, but right now they're not taking over the world. This
Yeah.
thing is not writing great copy that's going to sell lots of stuff. It doesn't even know who won the Super Bowl in 2022. Now, of course, if I asked it any of the stuff we were just talking about, it probably knows, oh, what's a library? What's a Dewey Decimal? What's a phone? What's a cord? What's an answering machine? Probably knows all that stuff, but that's stupid. Oh, my data only goes up to 2021. What the hell good are you? I thought the whole idea of this is it's learning. AI, it's constantly learning. Every time you input something, it learns. Really? It stopped at 2021.
So
It didn't come on until November 22. So for at least 11 months before this was released, it was stupid. It didn't know anything when it was released about the day before it was released or the year before it was released. Come on. Anyway, where was I? What were we? So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. We got like 5 minutes. We got.
So this is clearly your typical episode here on the E-Heroes. It's like the Seinfeld show, right? It's the podcast about nothing.
That's right. No, it's you're still a wealth of information. You help so many people worldwide understand marketing, understand.
Well, I have to say, what we've done here, I think, did we talk about it before the recording or during the recording? We did. It was before, I think. One thing you get. See, I can't even. I'm upset about this thing. Can't remember a year ago. I can't even remember 10 minutes ago. But I think we were saying, marketing. People don't realize a big chunk of successful marketing is personality.
Mm-hmm.
People want to connect with your personality, especially with all these chats and GPTs and Google and whatever. There's information everywhere. You just said I have so much information for bit. There's information anywhere. It's a dime a dozen.
Right.
Does somebody want to work with you or with me because we have information? Of course we have information, but so do 100 competitors and so do robots. They want to work with us because they connect with something about us. And usually, advanced tip here, they usually connect with something on the negative. I have a friend that says it doesn't really rhyme. He thinks it does. You connect through your mess. I'm like, do you understand that doesn't really rhyme? But it makes sense. So when we're vulnerable and open, well, pretty much, I mean, like I think that was the opening, I suck at tech. Like, so now I get a lot of people come to me and go like, hey, I suck at tech too. Help me make money on the internet. Because I make a lot of money on the internet and I don't even know how it works, what it is. I got a landline's not a landline. I don't know what's going on, but I know how to make money with it. And so I connect to people through my failures and foibles and faults and and you do too. I love your stuff and your social. Anyone not following you is absolutely lunatic because it's so much fun you post your conversations with your prospects that didn't make the cut. They're like, Rob, how much is it? Like, it's too much for you. Well, how dare you say that? Like, how dare you answer me when I said that? It's just so they're not your client. But the person that goes, I love that. That's all. Rip me a new one. Here's a check for $5,000. Go ahead. Be sarcastic.
It's personality marketing. It's rejection marketing. It's whatever you want to call it. But it's just us being who we are.
Yeah.
That attracts the people that we really want to be our clients.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
You've been doing it for 35 plus years. I mean, you're older than dirt, and I'm getting there. And
Well,
but
beats the alternative though.
yeah, but we've learned from Dan Kennedy, who does the same thing. We've learned from others who do the same thing, and
Right.
it's like,
Little secret I'll let people in on, and maybe you as well, because I've worked with Dan personally. And so the now again, Dan Kennedy, people like Dan, they're looking him up. Dan Kennedy, oh, the senator from Idaho or whatever. Like there's a senator named Dan Kennedy, I think, or some
right. It's not him.
anyway, no, the marketing guy, and he is called himself, gave himself the name, a bunch of names, but the grumpy professor of harsh reality and all that kind of stuff. And that's not how Dan is in real life. That's a caricature.
Hmm.
That's like you just said, your character development for your sitcom, your TV show. Like he developed his own character, and he taught me how to do it, and you how to do it, and lots of other people. And I then the rippling effect. I've taught lots of entrepreneurs and business people how to do it. They say like I don't want to put myself out in my personal this. Well, then create a character out of yourself. Dan Kennedy did. People meet him and they think he's going to be a gruff this, that, whatever. It's nice guy.
Yeah, when I first met him in 1998, we're going back 25 years. I thought he was like 100 years old then, and it
And
turns
you were
out he.
probably afraid to approach him, afraid to talk to
Oh,
him.
I did approach him, and in fact, I sat down next to him during break. I didn't know who he was. He was just an older guy sitting at the table by himself. And I said, "Hey, is this table available?" I sat down next to him.
You talked about football.
Within a few minutes, I wanted to punch him because he said my business wasn't unique. I was this, I was that. I was going to probably fail, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Right. And
You
then
know,
you
and
said, I'm going to write a whole book series like that. Crap.
and,
That's a
and
great.
then and then they call the seminar back into the conference
Hang on. What
room.
I was doing, audience, I was writing with a pen on yellow lined notepad paper. I know this is, we don't, what?
Yeah,
Who does that?
I got my pads here, my
What?
paper.
What is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Pad?
So
Oh, is that the paper when I had a paper route? Is this, I went
uh,
around with yellow line notepads and handed them out to people? Like,
well, and then so they call the next speaker up, and it's Dan Kennedy, and everybody's standing up, clapping, and I'm like, what the hell? He gets up there with his
like that
overhead
airline
projector and his
commercial, want to get away?
yeah, and he's using this overhead projector microfiche, and it's like, dude, you haven't used that shit for like a century. But he's teaching marketing that resonated with me. That I'm like, wow, I can actually use my personality to make money. It took me a while to
And I'm going to give people a little tip here. I know, is this allowed to actually talk about, what I help people with their marketing is when I help my clients put together a series of videos, like a frequently asked questions section. I call it the "Don't Be That Guy" series. So you take all the really dumb objections that prospects or clients give you, and it's much easier to not say that to their face. It's tough to say it to their face, like Dan did to you, to say like your ad sucks, your business sucks. So when I was with the Yellow Pages, for instance, we talked about like their ads suck. You ever open a Yellow Pages? They suck. The ads are all the names at the top of the ad. I think Dan's the one that said, you could take the names of each company and just switch them all around. All the ads in the Yellow Page wouldn't make a difference. Every ad is pretty much the same. And so I would go in and I'd say, I'm going to fix your ad here. But basically, the Yellow Pages, all the ads are terrible. They're all the same. But if I say that to somebody, your ad sucks, that's kind of confrontational and tough. So I created a video that says, hey, if your ad does this and that and this, it sucks. It needs help. And so just a little hint out there, you can create this "Don't Be That Guy" series for people that do ridiculous. If you're not as bold as Rob or as me, that will say right to someone's face, you're an idiot. That sucks. You're worthless and weak. Now drop and give me 20. It's easier to say if you don't have the humongous nads of Rob. You can say that in a video, in an article, in a frequently asked question on your site. You can say it, and then they'll read it and they'll go, "Oh man, I think, yeah, my whatever is doing that. My website does that. My ad does that. My this does that. My marketing does that." And they'll get the point. So you don't have to be in their face like Dan Kennedy or like you or me. You can be a normal human being and be nice, but you still want to say that stuff. So just a
Mhm.
tip: if you don't want to say to their face, say it on a frequently asked question or on a video.
Yeah, and I don't normally call people out by their physical name. I mean, I change it just because I'm a nice guy. Although I could, and people should appreciate that I'm not as mean as I could be.
No, of course you do. I mean, I'm saying you blur, but you did on that actual call. I'm saying when you post it,
No,
you of course don't use the real name. You blur it out if it's a screenshot of. But I'm saying when you were on that call, I'm pretty sure you were saying right to that guy. In no in different
right.
in artful terms. You're so good at it. You're an idiot. Like you're a scammer. Like I
Uh,
love your stuff.
the other day, I was frustrated at I guess whatever my kid was doing, and the phone rang, and I just picked up the phone. I didn't even look at the caller ID. I said, "How's the scam work?"
Ah,
The guy just went, "That's you," and hung up the phone.
I love when sometimes your name gets around now in the call center and they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're that guy?
You're that guy.
Click.
Yeah, I mean
And
it's
then almost all of these posts, your posts end with, and then wait for it,
F
he
you.
blocked me.
And you blocked me. Yeah,
And then what do you know? He blocked me.
and the thing is, you would think that with all the people that are blocking me, I would have no friends on Facebook. I'm like, I'm at my friend limit.
It's a good point. I
I'm
never thought
already
about that.
maxed out.
You would think how many people are there on earth? Hasn't everyone in every call center of every scam already blocked you? But they keep calling.
Keep calling. In
Get the
fact,
hint.
while we were on this call, I had 4 scam calls already. I'm like, I'm on a call with
Do you
Steve.
know who I am?
How to answer the phone? No, but it's so annoying, and that's what happened.
Yeah, but for
I, I,
normal people, it's not
I,
annoying, Rob. We don't answer. We
I,
just
I,
don't.
I turned that frustration of answering those phone calls, into something that was tangible. That was something that I could use
Also brilliant.
to teach other people, and yeah, it just became, and it was like, okay, I'm just going to pull out one book, Rob versus the Scammers. It's be funny and educational, and see where it goes. And people are like, Rob, this is awesome. Write more. And I'm like, okay, well, I have enough material to do another book. So it's Rob versus the Morons. And people are like, well, you can't say morons. That's triggering. I'm like, well, you're going in the next book.
I love it.
So now there's
Rob versus the snowflakes.
and so now there's 6 of them. I'm writing 2 more. I have book 7 coming out in a few months, and book 8 coming out at the end of the year. And then
Well,
I have
Facebook, in all its brilliance of its algorithm, frustratingly doesn't show me all your stuff all the time. Like, how do you tell it, like, show me that stuff? But whenever I see your stuff, a lot of my posts now, my responses are always a title of another book. And so I'm just throwing them out there. You're like, hey, I talked to this guy who did this. I'm like, it's Rob versus those guys. So of course I'm sure you've got 20 more titles ready. And then
oh,
it's time for series 2, Rob versus the morons, because there's more morons that have called you by now. Yeah,
it's
you got a great thing going.
the books write themselves at this point.
I'm gonna put that TV show onto my thing, and I'm not never gonna know when it's on or what channel it's on or what time it's on, but I'm gonna be able to binge watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it non-binge worthy. So you gotta watch. You gotta tune in once a week at a certain time.
Oh, we hate that when the show's like, wait, want to watch the next one? Like, oh, you got to wait a week. What is this, 1962?
Yeah, and
Do I
then
also have to adjust the rabbit ears? Rabbit ears for the again for conduct the thesaurus, consult the thesaurus, rabbit ears. That's how you actually had to watch TV back in the day.
my wife and I were binge watching some series, and we get done to the end, and she goes, "Is that it?" She goes, "There's no
Right.
more." I said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to wait another year." She said,
What's up with that?
Screw that."
And some of these shows now, they don't even come on till like they feel like it. Like it's not on like they do like 3 or 4 episodes like we'll see you next year. Like, excuse me? You're supposed to have like a lot in a row, like 10 or 20 or whatever it is a season. Like, no, sorry. And then, all these splintering all these channels, all these whatever, but that's why we need things like Google and AI and TV receivers that know more than me about when things are on and what. I don't have time for that nonsense. If I did, I'd be working on my car.
So how do people find you? Where do they go?
They can go to Steve. I know this is going to be crazy. They can go to stevesipress.com. Oh, well, if they're listening, it is. It's SI Press. P is in Peter RESS. But if you're watching and you see my name on the screen, add a .com at the end.
And you'll know you're there because the headline says, "Do you want more bang for your advertising buck?" Oh, that's
Oh,
the
I like
wrong
it.
one. We got to go. That was your other. That was your other website. That was
Well, I'll
just
tell you, here's the best one of all.
mymilliondollarad.com.
Yeah, that I put that up in case someone wants their $1 million ad. Go and get mymilliondollarad.com, and I'll
You'll see
create
Steve's
an ad for you.
beautiful face. It'll say "Help for business owners and entrepreneurs." That's what you want.
Or you can go to helpfromsteve.com. And somehow I got that to link to my calendar. And you just get onto my calendar for a 15-minute call, and I help you out, and I point you in the right direction. And if you want, we have some fun, whatever we can do in 15 minutes, and you're on your way.
There you go. And it's man,
Helpfromsteve.com.
that's an old photo too.
Yeah, someone told me that, and I was like, yeah, but I don't like the way I look now. My website, that was a professional headshot, or a tie. I'm in Arizona. Nobody wears a tie here.
People
I'm
don't
like,
don't even wear pants in Arizona. It's so warm.
oh, you're 100% right. I talk about my senior softball team. It was like 40 something degrees the other day. We play first thing in the morning here. We're seniors, as if nobody has anything to do. After the game, they're always like, "Oh, you want to go to lunch?" I'm like, "I got to go to work. What's with you guys?" But anyway, this guy's wearing shorts, and it was like 40 something. And he goes, "Yeah, I didn't even bring a pair of pants." It's a snowbird. He comes here for 2 months from Alberta, where it's 40 below. So he's having a field day when it's 40 above. He's like, "Come on, you worthless and weak snowflakes." He's wearing shorts. I loved it. I'm so weak that I looked like Nanook of the North. I had like 6 layers on. It's all good.
See, this was a very fun episode. And I don't think the next one will be this fun, but tune in anyway.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sure it'll be even better.
So I want to thank Steve for being here. Go visit his website, stevesipress.com. Get a consultation. And, don't be so worthless and weak.
Oh, man.
All
Better
right.
you than me that said that.
That's
So
right.
great being here, Rob. Thank you so much.
See
You
ya,
are
man.
my e-hero.
There you go.